Hey there, Latin 1. So here we are in Review 2. I want to go over the glossary for Review 2F, all right, on the banks of the Tiber in the 8th century. This is the first mention of Romulus and Remus. These are the twins that will grow up to become the ones who found Rome. If you are old enough, as in I think you should probably be 17, otherwise do not go onto Amazon Prime and watch The First King. That's a terrible idea. You're not old enough. Don't do that. If you are old enough, check it out. It's fun. So here we go. Review 2F. Let's look at the vocab, the glossary. So at the very beginning on page 95, fluvius fluvii. That means river. So a rivus is a stream. It is a rivulet. It has a low flow. It's small. A fluvius flows. It's a river. Tiberis, Tiberis. This is the Tiber River. You could call it the Tiber or you could call it the Tiber River. Okay? If you see Tiberis fluvius, then you know it's the Tiber River. You don't say the Tiber River. That doesn't make sense. That's like saying Sahara Desert. Who says that? But yeah, the Tiber River was named for a king who drowned in it. It's kind of like the Eastwood Ravine in Back to the Future Part 3. Let's see. Pastor pastoris. That means shepherd. Okay, that's where we get the word pastor. Also pasture. Comes from a verb, but we'll get to that later. Casa, casai. Now, I want you to translate this more as hut, because at that time, it was all about the mud huts. It was not cottages. That makes it sound so quaint and lovely, and no, it was a hut. But mi casa, su casa, right? It comes to mean house, because it's a dwelling. Woco, vocare. We've seen in woco, I think we've seen in woco, we've seen re woco, and we've seen con woco. Now this is just woco, vocare, to call. And it comes from the noun vox, vocis. Conjunx, conjugis. This means spouse. It could be either husband or wife. It's spouse. This is where you get conjugal from, or conjugate, which is to join two ends together. So you're conjugating verbs. I'll let that sink in for you. Ripa, ripai. This is a riverbank, okay? And this is like a riparian environment. A riparian environment is a riverbank kind of environment. Lots of frogs, that kind of thing. If you know who Kelly Ripa was or is, Kelly the riverbank. Rem miram. Just for right now, just translate it exactly as it is, okay? But mira comes from mirus, mira, which means strange or wonderful. Tibi, this is the dative, to you or for you. Ostendo, ostendera. This is where we get the word ostentatious from, okay? Ostendo, ostendera, to show, okay? It's literally to hold out for viewing, but there you go. Multa. You've seen multi. And you know the feminine would be multi. For right now, just trust me, multa means many things. I mean, it literally means those words, many things. The next one, geminus. The genitive of this would be gemini, which is where we get Gemini, which means twin. What I love is the Roman word for triplet is just trigeminus, triple twin, because they have no imagination. Allo, allora. I want you to cross out to feed and to nourish and write in to nurse, because that's what is happening here. She's literally nursing the babies. The next one, diligente. This means carefully. Oh, and by the way, aloe, I always think of aloe vera as nourishing my skin. Let's see, diligente means carefully. It's where we get diligent from. Lingua, linguae. This is where you get the word for tongue. And anything that is language or lingual, a lingual consonant is one that you make with the la 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 with your tongue. So lingua, linguae. You hear about the lingua franca. It's the common language. I believe actually in Spanish the word for language is lingua, the tongue. And then you hear about people speaking in tongues. And it just gets all kinds of wacky. Lambo, lambera. This is to lick. And to lick, it's kind of funny because later on it says she's licking them with her tongue. It's like, well, what other part of your body are you going to lick them with? When I grew up in Florida, if you were a naughty boy in school, then they would hit you. And you would get what were called licks. And they would get out a paddle and they would whack it across your bottom. Thank goodness we don't do that now. We actually treat kids like humans. But they would do that, and they would be called getting your licks. A lick is just a thin something smacking against something else. And if you realize that a wolf licking children, it's just their tongue slapping them just gently. Okay. Noster. Noster. This is the masculine. It's noster nostra. Okay. It means our. Just like meus, tuus, suus. This is noster. Which, by the way, you could also get wester, westra, okay, which means y'all's. Welut. Welut means just as. Honestly, the word ut means as, so just welut is just as. Debemus. Now, you could actually work your way backward from here. This is debeo, debere, which is to ought. We ought to do something. This will always take a complementary infinitive. It's where we get the word debt from, by the way. Something you ought to pay. Peto petera is one of those words that means 20 different things. So in this case, it probably means to attack. Sine dubio. Sine is part of sid space. So you know that it's going to take the ablative. Dubio is ablative, therefore. That's where we get dubious from. Okay. And the last one, mirabilis, which means miraculous. You saw mira earlier. Okay, that means strange or wonderful. Mirabilis means miraculous, definitely pertaining to a miracle. And if we're ever in person again, I will tell you about a messaging service from the 1990s that was called ICQ Mirabilis. But in the meantime, there you go. What I want you to do now is review 2E, okay, and that's on page 94. And you basically have to put the proper things in the blanks and then translate. All right, so and I just want you to highlight what you fill in the blank with, and then translate the whole thing. So, Cornelia et Marcus et Sextus aestate in villa habitant. So you'd highlight aestate, because we filled in the blank, and then you'd say Cornelia and Marcus and Sextus live in the country house in the summer. Look who's missing from who lives in the country house in the summer. All right, so go ahead and do review 2E, all right? And I will catch you in the next video. All right, I'm going to hit the button.